Good morning. Rev here this morning. It is Thursday. It is the 24th of March. I hope you're safe and well and blessed this morning. We're just about to get through another month. I pray you're ready to be a witness for Christ today. He is counting on you. I'm going to read from Mark chapter 12 this morning. This is from 12. Going to begin with verse 38 and read down through 44. As he taught, Jesus said, "Watch out for the teachers of the law. They like to walk around in flowing robes and be greeted in the marketplaces, and they have the most important seats in the synagogues and the places of honor at banquets. They devour widows' houses and for show make lengthy prayers. Such men will be punished most severely." Jesus sat down opposite the place where the offerings were put and watched the crowd putting their money into the temple treasury. Many rich people threw in large amounts, but a poor widow came and put in 2 very small copper coins, worth only a fraction of a penny. And calling his disciples to him, Jesus said, "I tell you the truth, this poor widow has put more into the treasury than all the others. They gave out of their wealth, but she, out of her poverty, put in everything, all she had to live on." This is the word of the Lord. Thanks be to God. Excuse me. There are few things, I think, that arouse anger in Jesus, but one of them is pride. Now, Jesus, he never used the word pride, but he described it to a T. He talked about the scribes that would walk around in their long flowing robes and wanted to be greeted in the marketplaces. And they took the most important seats in the synagogue, which was right in front of the Ark of the Covenant, which held the scrolls. They devoured widows' homes. The scribes were they were lawyers, and they managed wills and other legal business for widows. And the fact is, they cheated them. They would also pray long prayers that sounded really flowery and pretty, and they just had the ability to use the language, and so they sounded really good. They sure sounded devoted to God. But the problem was they did it to impress others. They did it to gain recognition. They did it so they could be in the spotlight. All this was done in public. As I said, in the marketplaces, in the synagogues, the banquets. They were religious hypocrites that had absolutely no love for God, only for themselves. Jesus said, just watch out for them. Don't be like them. Why? Because, he says, their punishment would be severe. Why would their punishment be so severe? Well, it's because that they were teachers, and they were responsible for shaping the faith of the community. So Jesus, he's teaching in the temple, and he set himself down opposite of the temple treasury, and he's watching people come in and give their money. Now, this is in the court of women, where there were 13 receptacles, one for each tribe. Now, we know there's only 12 tribes, so who was the 13th receptacle? That was from the Levites. Jesus is deliberately, he's watching, he's discerning motives, and he is apparently unimpressed. And people gave, at least the rich people gave very large amounts of coins, and they would dump them into these metal receptacles, and they would just clang in the inside, and you could hear them scraping around as they would slide down that funnel-shaped throw it into the collection box. But then comes this widow. And she comes walking in, and she caught Jesus' attention. He saw how she was dressed. He saw how she held herself as she walked. He just noticed her. And when she got to the collection receptacle, she put in 2 mites. And those 2 mites were worth a fraction of a penny, the scripture says. It was the smallest coin in circulation. Kind of like our pennies today. But hers was worth much more. How come? Well, because the others gave out of what they could spare. This widow, she gave all she had. She gave it sacrificially. She gave it with no regard for herself. And Jesus tells us in Mark chapter 8, in verses 30, starting with verse 34, he says that then he called the crowd to him along with his disciples and said, "If anyone would come after me, he must deny himself and take up his cross and follow me. For whoever wants to save his life will lose it, but whoever loses his life for me and for the gospel will save it. What good is it for a man to gain the whole world, yet forfeit his soul?" What a contrast here. This woman, she impressed Jesus. Fact is, she blessed Jesus. She trusted God with all that she had. Now remember, she's a widow, so she's in much need. But she gave everything that she had. What a generous and loving heart this woman had towards God. You know, there's a story about 2 people by the name of Elsa and Charles. Elsa had a cat and Charles hated it. And so when the cat demolished his favorite sweater, he drowned it. And then he took it and he buried it. And he pretended to help Elsa look for it. And he even set up a $10,000 reward for it. And there was a guy that came to Charles, and he said, "You know, that's pretty generous for a reward for a cat." And Charles responded by saying, "Well, when you know what I know, you can afford to be generous." You know, the widow could say, "When you know what I know, you could afford to give all you got." Now, understand here this morning that I'm not just talking about money. This could be a good stewardship sermon I could make out of this, but I don't think that that's what this is about. This is a passion story. Jesus is still trying to tell his disciples about what's coming. And it must have weighed so heavy on his heart. At this point, the cross is just a few days away. And contemplating his sacrifice, he rants against the false observances of the scribes. And then he sees this perfect, selfless gift by somebody who gave all they had, just like he would in a few days. Jesus deserves no less than our all in everything, in our money, our time, our effort, our worship. He deserves everything. He gave his life for us. We should give our all for him. I'm Pastor Mark. Love you guys. Be safe. Be well. Be blessed. Be strong. Go do something for Jesus. I'll see you tomorrow.